All right, what's going on, boys and girls, ladies and gents? It's what day is today?
April 1st.
April 1st,
Yeah.
Thursday, April 1st, 2021, man.
Mhm.
Glad you made it. It's another So production. It's another episode. I told you guys we had a big surprise today. He's back. You guys asked for him. He's back in the building.
Whoa, surprise.
Doing it up. Dylan Mitchell, Funk Dude, kicking butt, taking names. Thank you very much for coming and sharing your time with us.
Yeah, dude, of course.
And thank you guys for tuning in again. Every week you come and follow and you check out the videos. I really appreciate it. Let's get rocking and rolling, man. We'll just keep it loosey-goosey as per usual. We'll probably go for half an hour, 45 minutes to an hour, see what happens. Bringing you guys some fun, talking about this, that, and the other. And it is what it is, man. I'm just going to get a sip of this back.
Oh, I'm going to do that too, okay.
Let's do it. Oh, how you doing on that coffee?
Good.
Good?
Yeah, I needed that.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit sleepy in a good way.
No,
but
it's all
like,
good.
you know.
Rightly so, because you were giving you were out there, man. You were out there yesterday giving a handout to, well, giving some assistance, some help to a friend.
Sure.
Moving.
Yeah.
Dylan was helping, dude.
You know, sometimes I do be, whatever. It was a 12-hour affair of fun, but no, it's cool. Honestly, but earlier in the week there was like a little bit of insomnia.
Right.
And then oh dude, on Monday, man, I didn't tell you the story.
No.
But
what happened?
Okay, well, I'll tell you like the short version.
Sure.
You know I've been baking bread.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So
making these delicious breads, dude.
Yeah, you try it yourself before you say. But it was, so okay, I made a loaf, my first one. I was so excited, and this was on Monday. I'm like, okay, cool. Eat a little bit, yum. Eat a little bit more, yum. And next thing you know, I kind of ate most of it. I gave a slice to my friend who came by, so that was cool. And when he came by, he dropped off some stuff, and he surprised me with some beers. And I was
Nice.
like, cool, okay, I mean,
Fuck yeah.
I'll have some bread and some liquid bread.
Hell yeah.
So I drank a beer and I was like, I'm feeling pretty good. I think I'm gonna order a pizza.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, this is where maybe the story.
I was sold on bread and beer, but a fucking pizza too.
Well, long story short, you could probably guess where this is going. I basically made myself ill, right? Like I end up eating the whole pizza, of course, because I'm like a total lightweight, not used to drinking. The friend who brought the beers, he's more of like, he'll have a beer every night.
Nice.
Which is, that's his thing.
Yeah.
But like, I have no tolerance.
No,
so after one
really.
can, I'm just like, what's up, pizza? So yeah, then another one. I'm like, cool. I'm gonna go to sleep, and then wake up a few hours later, and it was a time. There's no need to go into detail, but yeah. So it was a reminder of like, this is what happens when you push the limit, and like, if you don't want to have this happen again, because it was like a horror movie in my bathroom.
But
like,
prior to that trip to the bathroom, dude, everything was gooch.
Yeah.
The pizza.
Yeah.
It was worth it.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, we take one for the team.
Yeah. I don't.
The yummy team.
Yeah. Honestly, in the moment, it did taste.
That's what I'm
very
saying,
tasty.
dude. That's what I'm saying.
But honestly, like, I gotta stop playing that kind of game with stuff, because like, just because it feels good in the moment,
Right.
doesn't mean you should be pursuing it all the time.
I feel you, dude. I feel you.
Yeah.
I can't be. Yeah, I'm at that age as well. Not old, but I'm starting to see like I gotta just
pretty
say
old.
Pretty old still. Yeah, I'm not 20 anymore, so I can't just
like,
be consuming everything at that same pace.
Yeah.
Definitely a little bit of moderation, and
yeah.
if I do overindulge sometimes, like you said, whether it's just like eating, man. Sometimes I'll do the same, dude. It's
human nature, right?
Yeah.
Like, if your brain turns off and you get into the bloodlust of or pizza lust of like, but yeah.
It is what it is. Enjoy, boys and girls.
Yeah, enjoy responsibly,
That's it. Drink, eat, poop, sleep, enjoy life. That's all it's about.
Yeah.
Sharing and caring. Man.
Yeah, so to totally underail, I'm feeling pretty good, a little sleepy, but I'm good. I'm good.
Nice.
How are you, my friend? How was this Thursday finding
It's
you.
Thursday, man. It's Thursday. I'm super happy you're here. Thank you again. And honestly, like every day, it's this week's been a great week. No complaints. Honestly, going through life. It's Monday. No, it's not Monday. What am I saying? It's Thursday. First of the month is what I meant to say.
Oh,
You know
yeah,
what I
yeah,
mean?
true.
And,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I wanted to
Yeah,
say
yeah.
rents due, bro.
Yeah.
Just pay
I get what you
rent a
mean.
little bit, so it just
Yeah.
like pockets feeling a little bit empty, but it's like, okay, no worries. Whatever it is, what it is, we'll take it on the chin, I guess, and we'll make sense of it all. It's just, how are you guys doing out there with all of this, bro? How's everybody doing?
We can't hear them.
I know, but like,
The audience, there's no feedback.
I think for the most part, like, people will be able to relate, though. It's such a confusing time. It's such a confusing time. How do you make sense of it? How are you guys making sense of it? How's anybody keeping up with everything that's going on?
Yeah, man. No, it's true. Like,
Because
the overall narrative is, I don't know. There's a million of them. It's hard to even pick out where we are, let alone where we're going. But maybe that's just like because of how much information we're consuming. Like the fact that there's enough bandwidth to record an HD show and like put it out. You don't even have to plug this thing in.
no, it's
And
incredible
like,
how instant it is.
yeah,
how
yeah.
relatively instant, I shouldn't say instant, but like relatively
Getting
instant.
there.
Yeah, getting there almost. Yeah, pretty much.
Even if you're streaming, right? Like the latency, the delay between the camera shutter and someone else's eyeball watching it, it's like, maybe less than a minute.
Jeez Louise,
So,
that's incredible.
pretty
Like,
crazy.
anybody from anywhere in the world can be streaming and somebody else can be making that connection, vice versa, just making
Yeah.
connections and getting information.
Yeah.
And at one point, you got to draw the line for yourself and be like, okay, this is what I'm going to consume, or this is how much I'm going to consume.
Mm-hmm.
Because, yeah, at the end of the day, you got to keep that balance.
Yeah, and be
Somehow.
able to separate wheat from chaff, right? Like, just because there's a fire hose of water doesn't mean you should drink it. Like, but I don't know. I'm one to talk.
No,
so.
but that's the thing. We all do this dance, right? Every day we get up and like we're fed this like narrative, and we gotta kind of keep going with certain things. And we're at that point where it's been a year now, and I've lost track of time, you guys. When I say like sometimes like I don't know when the news like comes out, but like you'll hear we're easing up and things are gonna go back to like 25% capacity.
Yeah.
Within 5 days, you'll hear another remark. Oh no, we're gonna go back and lock it up again. So that's what I mean when I say like I sometimes legit lose track of time, because it's just been consistent inconsistency for a year now.
That's a good way to put it. Consistent inconsistency. Yeah, I would agree. Because like even in the midst of things kind of opening up a little bit in the past weeks, there has been the rumblings of like, oh, the third wave. Ooh.
That's right.
It's
And
like, what? But is this even the third? Isn't it like what
Is it
wave are
even
we
a-
on?
Is it even a
anymore?
thing anymore, dude? Like
Wow.
but this is what I'm saying. This is what I'm again. This guy doesn't know shit. I'm just talking. I'm just shooting around ideas. All right.
Mhm.
But we've had it for a year, you guys. We've had it for a year, and if we still have the lockdowns, but it doesn't seem to be remedying anything, why do we keep going with the lockdowns? Just asking a question here, all right?
Yeah, no, fair enough.
Just asking a question. I don't know.
No, I me neither. Is the answer like?
And
I don't know.
somebody, please, like, tell what's the logic, please, like, because the numbers don't add up. Because the numbers don't add up. And at one point, even if the numbers added up, life has to move. Life has to go. We cannot cocoon ourselves like this.
Yeah, yeah. The fact that.
Or we can't. I don't know.
Well, you know what? I think there's been a gradual kind of training for this to be able to happen.
Right.
Like, I think it would have been trickier for something like this. I don't know what to call it. But the fact that we're so atomized already, like in our little digital worlds each separately. So like, oh yeah, this person over here, they consume X, Y, Z, that it influences their worldview in such a way. And then that's different from a person over there, who is different from a person over there. And then like, yeah, it's so, because everyone is already so splintered, perhaps it's easy to keep us separate at home. I don't know.
No, absolutely.
I don't
It
know
does
if that's
make
a thing.
no, it makes sense. Well, again, divide and conquer, but then like we get into like what I have a problem with. It kind of almost takes on this like mythological like, or like it becomes like again an us versus them, but like a them that's kind of like imaginary. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like you attribute it to like whatever. It could be a vague them for government, but we all know it's not all government. We all know it's not all people in government. It gets a little tricky. So it's just like you realize it's just people occupying roles, sons, daughters, wives, sisters, brothers, like everybody, and we participate in it, and somehow collectively we come to decide that yeah, this I lost the train of my own thought as well. It's like it's just hard to make sense of it all is what I'm trying to say. Sometimes that's
I'm
where I
with
run
you.
into.
No, I'm with you. Like what I hear you, I'll replay what I hear, which is like, the them is actually like if you zoom in on whatever a them is,
Right.
it's so broken into little bits.
Just roles and just
Yeah,
different
roles
roles.
and like so that from a distance it appears that it's one entity,
Right.
but it's actually not. It's like these people over here doing their thing, and maybe they have a completely different motive, but like it's very abstract, zany stuff.
It is. And
So
I mean, I'd be okay with everything in terms of like, if we were to have a little bit of like common sense and just logic about everything and go be like, sure, there's this new disease out there, it's causing X amount of deaths, we need to lock it down. At the same time, how are we not like putting a pause on rent? How are we not putting a pause on, or if you say restaurants can only, or any other places of business that are deemed non-essential, and we all know everything's essential because your business is your business and you gotta put food on the table, so that's essential.
yeah.
If they say you got to run on 25% capacity, then how do you expect 100% rent?
Yeah, totally.
And I'm just
Like,
again,
that's-
please don't take these numbers as like a hard fit. Like I'm just, you know what I'm.
Well, it's like an engine, right? Like if you put a quarter tank of gas in the car, but still expect to go the full distance,
It's just
how does that work?
And it doesn't. And
So
and this is where we're at right now. And I'm just trying to figure out, is there? We've had like, I don't know. I'm sometimes I get baffled and I'm just like, I hope there's some higher wisdom. There's some like, I don't know what. Maybe there's something that the average folk isn't aware of. And there's so many things going on, right? Whether it be proxy wars, whether it be cyber wars, this, that, and the other. And not to get like cynical about life or anything, maybe I'm just hoping that in a broader sense, maybe we're being protected from something else. Is this just maybe it's not even that. Maybe we've had similar talks or like relating talks. Maybe it is just a now being deployed as a huge marketing gimmick. Maybe that's a whole other aspect of it. I don't know. I'm feeling very confused.
yeah,
Like everybody.
yeah. I'm with you. It's and it. I feel so reluctant to even like. Maybe you feel this way too, where because the energy is so high, like the people are so, all of us are so amped up on what the truth is, or what our truth is, or I don't know, like there's such a friction between
Ideology.
yeah, ideologies, worldviews,
Right.
sets of beliefs, whatever we want to call them, that I'm so reluctant to even put a pin on the map, because it's like, oh well, you think you're putting a pin there, therefore
You are.
here are all these other pins, and it's like, well, no, I don't necessarily agree with all those other bits,
Right.
but I'm just like poking that bit,
Right.
and like that's part of why I'm speaking so abstractly, right? 'Cause instead of saying like, oh.
I feel you, dude. I'm there with you.
Yeah.
Sometimes I catch myself, but I try to like within keeping things abstract. I do sometimes try to come out and just like spit out whatever it is that's on my mind for the sake of one, like getting rid of it. Because again, like it's like you said, it's everybody has their own, want to call it ideologies, points of views, perspective, whatever they are, and whatever I've said, or most of the people that I think most people are open to the idea of like learning and growing, and not too many people want to be dogmatic. I don't think so. But these rhetorics that people like, again, the extremes always make the most noises, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
I think we should be able to talk about whatever we want, ask whatever we want, say whatever we want. I think it's just like, again, a lot of things have to be taken into account with the circumstance and the intent, and can't just, again, that's why I like longer formats, at least for like anything like this. At least you get to talk for a little bit longer and get some ideas out there, where in some realms or some mediums, like Twitter comes to mind. I've never even used it, but it's just like, how do you reduce all your, whatever message you're trying to convey into a certain amount of words, and then put that out there into the world, and everybody else comes to like, nitpick at it, be like, well, in this part you said this, so therefore, like you said, you must be this, that, and the other, and you're like, no, just hear me out.
Yeah,
So we can move forward, so we can find out that, hear me out, like I've got the answer, or you've got the answer, or again, let's have everybody like work together, and I think that's part of this causes apprehension in people. And it just causes apprehension in people, and I just want us to be able to speak more freely, and so we can learn, essentially.
Yeah. Learning is, I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
learning's the
it's
thing.
the best. It's the bestest.
And how do you learn this bestest thing if you can't make a mistake? Because like that's how you learn. Is by
100%. Like, I'm so grateful for the mistakes that I've made, because if I didn't make them, I legit would not have learned my lessons, and that's how you learn not to repeat certain things. And who's perfect? Dude, nobody's perfect. So how are we gonna pin ideas or sentences or phrases that somebody has said and just be like, no, now I associate you with these all, like, we take our own ideologies of what we think that person represents, we give that identity, and we're like, oh, if you think whatever.
Yeah, projection. Right?
Projecting things.
Yeah, I mean, and that's something that I've really thought about from a practical standpoint, because like in my travels as a guy who makes stuff, sometimes I have to like literally take a projector and like point it at stuff,
right,
and put stuff on it. And like as you kind of create the workflow to make that happen, you start to think about virtual space, and then how virtual space is related to the physical actual space, how to put them together, how if there's an error in one, there's a feedback loop that can happen where like if there's a misperception, or to be more specific, let's say if we measured this room and created a 3D model of this room and reprojected onto it, if the 3D model wasn't good, the reprojection would miss out details, so you wouldn't see the room in the same way.
Correct.
So yeah, thinking in that kind of circular way of like taking something from the real world, virtualizing it, taking that virtualization, and then putting it back on itself.
Right.
Is kind of a trippy.
It's a misleading thing, because you think you'd be getting a representation of whatever you're supposed to be represented, but it's actually a re-representation rather, not a representation. Because representation would actually require you to be observing it in first person right there, and then like, I can tell this is Dylan, this is the setting. I can
there's another layer.
There's another layer when it's being constructed, if we could say, right?
Virtualized, but I guess part of the not implication, but if you follow this logic, or if you kind of accept this precept, you might say that we all kind of move through life in that way, where we're constantly taking in as high a resolution image of the world as we can.
Right.
But there are things that get in the way, like maybe you're thinking about, your taxes are due, or your dog died, or whatever. Like you've had a good sleep or a bad sleep, or pick your example.
Exactly.
So even though we're all able to exist in the structure of reality, there are these like films that like kind of can cloud the perception, and then therefore cloud the reprojection of like, okay, this is what I'm seeing, and therefore like this is what is, like that feedback loop can become cloudy, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
No, I hear, and that could be done in different ways, and it's just, again, going back to questioning, I guess, a little bit of what is truth, what is reality, what is presented to us, and what's being misrepresented and what's being, what's being highlighted constantly, what's not being highlighted, and what we get exposure to. It's it just.
And what do we expose ourselves to?
What do we expose ourselves to as well? Yeah.
The fact that we all have these magical rectangles that can show us whatever we type into them, like, that's pretty crazy. That wasn't a thing.
It's
like even recently. So, and it's gonna have an effect. Like, I think we're all kind of learning to, or we're learning that you kind of gotta watch what you're like, not what, like you've got to be careful of what you're putting your attention towards,
100%,
right? And
yeah.
that's not a new idea.
No, but the tech is new, but the way it's getting presented to us and the speed that it's coming at us is very new, and it is like a drug. It is not like a drug. It is a drug.
Yeah. It hooks right into all sorts of pleasure centers and pain
100%
centers.
everything. That's again, this is not just made. Again, this is not just made for our entertainment purposes. There's definitely business aspects. There's definitely manipulation aspects, and again, it's trying to find that balance, because it's like I don't want to live in a world where I want to say no to tech, where I want to say abandon these, because a lot of things I enjoy, a lot of the amenities that I have, I enjoy a lot of the comes with a lot of power. Again, it's just finding that balance, and I don't know what's the answer, because do we go and say let's regulate information then as to what and that's kind of already being done. That's kind of already being done.
Yeah, that's a big topic of discussion, right? Like the spreading of falsehoods is considered like a pretty high crime, and maybe rightfully so. But yeah, it's definitely in the zeitgeist.
But it's out there to the extent where, like, again, the genie's been let out the bottle. We've not talked about these things prior to it being let out, and now that it's out, it's like we're now scrambling to like get a handle of things.
Yeah.
So we all got to really cooperate together rather than be competing in a sense in all realms of life. That's the only way. And like, not to say that I love a good competition, but like I think first and foremost within yourself and with yourself, not to, because everybody's so unique and different. Like, I don't know what I'm saying in terms of like,
that it's difficult to measure one-to-one.
Yeah.
The people. Okay. Yeah.
People are unique, and it's just it makes it difficult to have rigid ideologies and ways of having people to conform to certain set of rules and norms. And if anybody deviates for whatever reason, they're deemed as outcasts or whatever, pariahs or whatever, and misfits or what have you. And then it becomes like we put this pressure on people in this, like, I don't know, for lack of a better word, it's a mix of conservative and liberal ideas, which again, it's neoliberalism, right? It just creates this idea of everybody should be left on their own. And this is actually where we've gotten to, unfortunately, because with the whole COVID, every time we have anything that's new or any ideas that we're talking about, we never have the right idea about how to treat it properly. So we never start from the center. We always swing on the pendulum to the extremes. And the extreme measure first for COVID or schmovid was done so that we all take cover. We all take, the extreme measures, so to stay safe. In resistance to that, I'm afraid we might have an emergence of a new extreme set of ideas that'll further enhance neoliberalism, and that is another version of a dog-eat-dog world, where you don't want government interference or assurance, whether it be in social services or any other means. It'll mean that you'd have to fend for yourself, and God forbid, we have so many people that fall through the cracks for whatever reason. There are times where you legit cannot fend for yourselves, and that's the reinforcement that I see, because on a larger scale, we're creating this world where, okay, if you've got access to wealth and money and resources, you can facilitate yourself with the best of amenities, get the, if you need X amount of heart transplants, no problem, you're first on the list. If you need a few hips, you got it. But if God forbid, again, if for whatever reason you're in that socioeconomical system that you can't get out, and like,
the pay to play, right? If you've got the dough, you can open the door.
And you sometimes look at people that should have, like, just if it was up to nature, dude, I'm like, kings and queens that are just like 99 pushing 100. It's like, dude, you should have been out the game like in the 80s, but somehow you got multiple hearts and stuff. It's just, or like whatever, what I mean? It's just, that's the
it's if the Duke of Edinburgh, if he was just an old dude who wasn't rich, totally. I think he still smokes, or he did up until recently. But yeah, pretty weird stuff.
So that's like trying to find that balance again. So it's like sharing, caring. I know these sound sometimes cheesy and lame, but like we need that love, dude, to make sense of it all, because a lot of it is nonsense.
The Duke of Edinburgh needs the love.
I think he's gotten quite enough love,
Oh, okay.
dude. I think he's got
So
plenty
needs
of
love redistribution.
He needs love distribution and just give back somehow.
Right.
And
Yeah. Well, he was actually involved with like the World Wildlife Fund or Federation back in the day. Maybe he still is, but that's an interesting group. I don't know.
WWF?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. The panda.
Right, I remember.
Yeah, it was like set up by like this Dutch prince guy with some other people, Prince Bernhard. I don't know. I listened to a couple podcasts about it, and like they've got their whole viewpoint of like whatever. I don't know.
What are they into? Is it like conservationist efforts and whatnot, or am I?
Well,
or is that
that's definitely
that's problematic on its own.
Well, that's like the like you know the slogan or whatever, like the ethos that
right.
they're about.
That's not such a wonderful thing.
Well, I mean,
in a sense, like
what I found when I was like learning more about their group is like a lot of their work was there was like big game hunting, because like they wanted to do the conservancy so that there were still lions to go shoot.
Well, conservancy is kind of like a cover essentially for
a lot of stuff.
A lot
like
of stuff.
Appropriating land, like, hey, native people,
Yeah.
oh, you want it? That's not yours anymore.
You can't
we gotta
take care
protect
of it. We gotta come protect it
Yeah,
for you. And it's
yeah,
like,
yeah,
wait, you're that dude riding around the Jeep shooting zebras, bro.
Yeah, or you know, your friend is because he's the one running it for you. Whatever.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely. Like, we're
there's these
just
little
shooting the
games.
shit here, but like,
Yeah.
you guys get the gist of it. There's a lot of
Yeah, the podcast I was listening to, you check it out. It's these guys. It's called Grub Stakers.
grub stakers.
I mean, they're okay. I noticed like when. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna add to that. There is a huge market for endangered meats and what have you, or like
Yeah.
exotic meats and like delicacies around the world.
Yeah, that's true.
a thing.
Yeah, definitely. And like just the trophy, right?
Yeah.
Like, here's the head on the wall. But yeah, it's like a pretty interesting rabbit hole, and you know, like all rabbit holes, go with your bring lots of grains of salt, because you know it's easy to misperceive.
Yeah.
Like what we were talking about before, like.
Yeah.
You know, it's dim down there, so you see a rock and maybe it looks like something scary.
Absolutely, and there are truths out there. It's just, you know, trying to step over some of the stuff that may not be so beneficial or truthful. Rather, it's just like misinformation or what have you, and it's and part of that responsibility again falls on the individual, and you got to do your due diligence. And sometimes I think it's just like listening to your own guts and instincts about like how having a realistic and instinctual like outlook on life. I think if you listen to your gut for the most part, after a little while on this earth, you'll get to, you know, find the truths, and it's like you can call out bullshit for the most part, and sometimes you may be wrong, but a lot of times I find where that I listen to my intuition or my gut feeling about something, I've been right most of the time. And
yeah, intuition is definitely like a thing in my life. I don't know, and maybe that's part of all of us having our unique, you know, perspective, belief set thing. We've all got our own unique radar, gut, intuition. Yeah, I don't know, something like that.
It's definitely like, that's the thing. We live in a world where we value truth and honesty and good things, but at the same time there's so much secrecy in all realms of life, and it's just like, well, yeah, I don't know, like, do we, not that like secrets, you get questioning, like, are secrets good? Should people have secrets? Sometimes you're like, man, if it wasn't for secrets, societies wouldn't even be upholding. It's like,
yeah, I don't know if you're wrong about that.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, well, maybe because we've witnessed this shift from, like, everyone's life was kind of private before,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
And to a degree, you know, it still kind of is, but it's only as private as you make it, right? And there are people who share pretty much everything,
Right.
like literally.
Yeah.
make their living that way.
Right.
And cool, you know, obviously there's an audience for it. I don't know if that makes it a good thing. There's an audience for cocaine, you know, like, but maybe that's, well, I don't know, it doesn't seem great. But anyway, the point is that, the point I'm trying to make is that, yeah, like privacy or not being open constantly, like, it's something I think about, and maybe you've noticed this too with your work, is like, if you put everything out on the table, there's no mystique, and therefore the audience, there's no reason for them to, there's no guessing, right? Like, if you really want to get into someone, like live rent free in someone's head, which, you know, honestly, that's kind of what a lot of our media diet could be considered, is like people kind of like living rent free, but, or maybe not. But anyway, in setting that up, I kind of lost my train of thought, but yeah.
Kind of follow what you're saying. It's a lot to think about. It's a lot to think about, and it's a lot to unpack, is what it is. And it's tricky. I think about those. I have those thoughts again, like, where do we draw the line of, everything's commodified to a degree. What do we give value to? What do we want to share? What do we not want to share? Again, are there benefits of sharing? For the most part, I think starting this, I've never had any, I didn't know really what I was doing initially, and like I'm still learning so much. There's so much to learn. And I just thought if people were more honest and like put all their cards, or as many as their cards, on the table as they're comfortable, I think we can get around a lot of the hoopla, or a lot of the falsehoods in our representations of ourselves, and that's the thing, because I think everybody goes around living life a lot of times putting on so much like protection, again, like up there to whatever it is they want. And I've done, wearing masks, wearing, or
well, like,
again,
figuratively or literally.
Yeah, exactly. And I just find, and not to say that it's easy, and not to say that that leads to betterment or what have you, I don't know. But I just figure, like, a lot of cases, like we were talking about, for example, right now there's been a rise of domestic violence, there's been a rise of children getting abused at home, and a lot of things we were, I think, discussing, a lot of things are like generational, as you said, and I agree, a lot of things are generational trauma specifically. How do you break the cycles? First, you gotta admit there's a problem, you gotta admit maybe you've had some sort of trauma, maybe you've had some sort of difficulty in your life. You got to come to terms with these things so that you could break away the cycle. But a lot of times, from maybe they're not even, again, not that people are being dishonest, but maybe they're just not living, I guess, transparently, maybe, or what I'm saying. And it's like, it's not that I'm lying to you, but it's just like, if I don't put it out there, then it's, well, it doesn't exist, that part of it. It's like, if I know I don't, for whatever it is, whatever that, and everybody's got something. So it's like, if you can come to, and that's the thing, I think, because we look at ourselves and find those little things as perhaps weaknesses. Maybe we think, oh, if I let people know about this, that, and the other. And I think you can still maintain a good level of like mystique and mystery around whatever you want to, because that's the thing. The other day, I think I was just having a brief discussion with like Zoe, and we just got to talking about like, how much do you know yourself? And like, when somebody asks me how much do I know myself, a surface answer is I know myself pretty well. But a deep, honest answer is like, how well do we really know ourselves, dude? How often do we sit down and think about what makes us us, like the individual, as opposed to all the things that we've accumulated over the years and added to ourselves, whatever, the taste in music, the food you eat, the clothes you wear, your habits, everything. And how much of that is even permanent, because we were constantly, so to answer these questions, and I think people can be as mysterious as they like to be, as mystique, that mystique can always resonate with people as much as they like, and I think that's the beauty of life, is constantly like growing and adding and learning. So for me to be like, you know, do I know myself? I know myself quite well, but I know one fact about myself is that I'm full of surprises, and that even that within myself like keeps me on my own toes. So I'm like, man, I don't even know what I'm gonna try to learn tomorrow, what I'm gonna, you know, potentially get exposed to the next day. So I'm always just like, obviously, like at the core, I think everybody's the same, relatively, more or less. But there is definitely, again, because of masks or layers of the onion, as we've, so you may peel some layers, you may add some layers,
or how the onion has been growing, right? Like the soil, the amount of moisture, the whatever. There's there's so many factors. The type of onion it is.
Right.
Even though 10 different onions might all be, you know, of that class of vegetable, I guess, root, whatever. But you know, a green onion tastes different. But yeah, I would agree with you that yeah, there is like a core thing that we all kind of share, and when it's being used, or when it's being used or abused, I think other people can pick up on that.
Right.
So, more broadly speaking, like if you're bullshitting or if you're not bullshitting, there's a degree of people can see through it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Regardless of the level of skill behind that facade. But life, to a degree, is kind of a poker game where everyone does bullshit to a degree, even for fun.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
Like a good surprise, right? Like I came over with bread for Sohrab today, and I didn't want to say anything, but I also was like dropping hints, like bluff it, like oh, I've got a good hand, like if we're playing poker, like oh, check this card out, but instead of actually putting it down right away, just kind of like hinting at it.
Boom, right there. No, and
so I don't know if that's.
No, I completely hear what you're saying, and that's beautiful. Like that's so cool. First of all, like I appreciate bread, dude.
Yeah.
And, like,
well, but it builds up
the built up of the the elements of a little bit of that, elements of surprise, a little bit of that. Just like I'll give you a little bit of taste right now, but like you'll get the full thing, whatever, in due time, and it'll be just magnificent. And that's really dope too. It's again, I think it's just it goes back to like every individual like finding that comfort within themselves, how much they want to reveal, what they're comfortable with revealing, what they want to talk about, what they don't want to talk about. Because not everything. That's not to say that I'm not saying that that's the right way, because I don't even know, you know what I mean? And 5 years I might look back, again, I'll probably be happy with the person that I am at the time, but if I can, you know, you always have those moments in life where you're like, could I have improved upon this? Yeah. It might be one of those, like,
in retrospect, yeah.
But that again comes with the same thing, and we were talking about those mistakes that if we didn't make them, we wouldn't.
Well, that's saying hindsight is 20/20.
Exactly.
Right? So it is very easy to see. Well, that's the lesson. Yeah. Like when we look back on a mistake or a failure or any sort of thing that it didn't have the outcome we expected. That's a piece of information to inform the next thing.
Exactly.
Which is pretty cool.
It is. That's how you grow, and it's whatever it is, what it is. That's how you grow, and I think everybody should, just for the sake of like not going too crazy about things, just be a little bit more relaxed with give yourself the leeway of, again, making mistakes. Give yourself to try new things, because a lot of times people are hesitant to try things, whatever it is, in any form of living, essentially, not even like whatever it is. It's just like you don't want to. People are afraid of looking.
Change is scary.
Change is scary. People don't want to look wrong. People don't want to look foolish. People
too. Yeah.
Everybody. That's why we're so like. That's the thing but that comes with conformity, and that's placed upon us, right? So that everybody's always, well, for the most part, somewhat uniform, and that's the thing. You don't want to be the odd man out, because you know.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. That's like a huge cultural trope, and who wants to be singled out? Nobody. Unless, but that's so interesting that there's the paradox of, in the cult of, well, you could say the cult of celebrity, that is the goal.
That's the goal, to be singled out, right?
But to be applauded,
right,
rather than teased.
It's a weird, but that's the thing. And the beauty of it is, I think, like we talked about it last time, like I I think overall when everything progresses and like everything has its evolution, like you said, I think everybody's gonna get a certain degree of celebrity or start just because of access to shit. Not even in the sense of that. I think the old models are like now just gonna be kind of like, maybe it'll be an emergence of kind of like a symbiotic relationship between the old school way of like celebrity and like the new, I don't even like that term, but you know what I mean, just like attention essentially is what it is. Because I think like before it was really like a niche little market, and that it was only accessed by a handful of people or a select few rather, you know what I mean? But now
I get what you mean,
and maybe that'll kind of normalize it so that at one point we come to the turning point where it's like, okay, just like, having access to money and wealth overall in humanity, I don't think we've come at a time where now it's just like, okay, now we know what it means to have abundance, because we have shit like mass obesity, or we have, if we want, we could take trips anywhere we want. We have
less so
now.
But I get what you mean.
In the grand scheme of things.
For most of our life, yes.
Yeah, up until this past year. So I think now's kind of the time where we're like, and this is going to be another thing, like for people perhaps to get that, whether it's the voice or whether it's just wanting to feel like they belong to a community, whatever it may be for anybody. And if it becomes normal and accessible, I think that's a wonderful thing. Will it have its drawbacks and setbacks every now and again, just like anything? Pendulum keeps swinging. I don't think it's it'll constantly be in motion, and then I don't know, 5-10 years we'll probably have another added something else, whether it's a technological advancement, whether it's like a
sociological phenomenon, whatever.
Yeah, whatever it is. There's so many things that are, and that's life, constant change and having to
flux, right? What's the Greek guy, Heraclitus? He's like, oh yeah, the only constant, or flux is the only thing that exists. Like
I don't know the name, but absolutely, that's definitely a truth. The only constant is change.
Yeah, and I'm reminded. I was digging what you said about, well, the whole thing about everyone finding their niche. Like the thing that comes to mind for me is, we think about like the old system. The thing that we were brought up with was like, up here these are stars, and like my hope is that everyone's going to realize that they're a star.
That's what I'm saying.
And it builds this whole universe of like infinite coolness where no one person can see the whole thing at one time. Right. But depending on where you are, like even in your local cluster, your local galaxy, maybe there's some cool stuff going on.
That's what I'm saying.
So,
and we've all got these abilities and power. That's what I'm saying.
There's tools out the wazoo.
Do whatever you like and like just be as creative. And that's the thing. I think a lot of it goes back to not limiting yourself, not being afraid. And I think it's like, dude, it's once you get past that, like I think it's just like taking that first dive. Once you do that, I think it's all like a lot. I know for me that was one of the biggest hesitations initially. It wasn't that I didn't think I'd be more or less comfortable in front of a camera or talking to people or exposing certain aspects of my life. It was more so the initial jump of doing it, because it's that, again, going between that decision of you lived your life up until now like this, now we're gonna flip it and go another direction, and that has its little hesitations or little moments of fear where you gotta just, and again, to each their own. It's not for, it's a tool. Is what it is. If you want to use it, how you want to use it. But I think giving access to people helps, and making sure that like we're all stars in a sense. We're all like really beautiful people out there doing amazing things, and it's just like sometimes, for the most part, I see a lot of people doing great things all the time. It's just, we don't get. That's the thing. We're waiting for these again because the idols have been supermen and superwomen. We're looking for these grand gestures, whereas if you see somebody down the street doing something nice, you're like, that person is a legit nice lady or a nice person or whatever it is. But it's like you're waiting to see a bus being lifted. You're not gonna see that. Like, you know what I mean?
Or like someone like, oh, I'm fixing the hole in the ozone layer, like that kind of thing.
One person like doing this extreme to where it's like we're all pitching in doing these little extreme wonderful things.
That's a good point.
And it's just like, why is one being magnified? Whereas there's like 8 billion other great things or more. So there's the thing that I'm trying to convey from this as well is like we've all got a lot of beautiful things to
share, right?
Share. And it's just like it's up to you if you want to now share it as well. And it's like if you.
That's true. Well, comfort is a thing, right? Because like when you're sharing something and being vulnerable, it seems like people are, well, not people. I can say me, like there's a discomfort at the idea of being rejected. Like, oh no, what if What if people don't like whatever?
Right.
But you know, at the end of the day, that's
That's
immaterial.
fine too.
Well, that's
That's
immaterial.
fine too,
That's
yeah.
part of their, again, going back to the perception, virtualization, reprojection workflow that I talked or outlined earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely that's there. Like if someone has a red lens over their projector and they keep seeing red on what they see, that's on them,
Right.
because they're the ones who are
Exactly.
coloring
Exactly.
their perception with that viewpoint. So yeah, I think like if we can all kind of own our ability to misperceive the world and go like, oh, you know what? I was wrong about that. I thought that, like, I don't want to use a political example because it's too easy, but we could use like a musical example. Like,
Right.
oh, I really liked the Beatles, or maybe, let's flip it. I didn't like the Beatles, but then I listened to them a different way, and now I do. Like, it's to have that evolution of a viewpoint, and to admit that, oh, I kind of got it wrong,
Right.
and I'm gonna retry, like, or I did retry. Like,
I completely agree with you, but that's a whole concept of like we're saying the same thing, and I love it. But I think one thing that I'd like people to realize is that like maybe it's not even the matter of fact of being so much right or wrong. It's just again the onion or the person evolving. It's just like music was a great example because I've had so many different times where I'm like, I'm not jamming with this, but like a year later I'll come back and I'm like, man, it's actually pretty cool.
yeah.
And 6 months down the line, I may outgrow it again and like move on to some. That's the thing I think with, again, like, who are you? How much do you know? I've never been too strong on giving myself an identity, if that makes any sense.
No,
like I feel more just like a human, and
I think that's something we share.
definitely like I'm open to saying, hey, I would like to learn something. I'm open to changing my mind. I'm definitely open to admitting my mistakes, because that's like I said, I've grown from my mistakes.
Yeah.
And I don't think I've repeated many of my mistakes. That's the goal. And
Yeah. And if you do, well, I guess you had to learn a bit more,
a
right?
bit more.
Like,
And then that's the thing. But overall, the pattern is like, learn from your mistakes, don't repeat them. And for the most part, if you are checking yourself, and sometimes what I've noticed now, like before I used to just like write for a little while for myself, whatever it was. After starting to share a bit of my stories online and doing these things, I noticed that now, again, I'm looking at the glass half full. I don't think of it as, I legit did this because I think I was comfortable, I was ready, and I wanted to do it. I don't want people thinking this is where society's going to, where like they're getting out of it, whatever, again, this abstract thought of like police mentality, self-policing essentially. You're recording yourself. You're essentially, this is now kind of, it could be paralleled with the idea of the old confession booth back in the church, right? It's just, I no longer need a priest or I'm doing it freely for you, without you even having.
Yeah, or like the old model. Like, there's a movie called The King of Comedy. You ever seen that one?
Maybe not.
Okay, so super simply, it's about a super comedy fan who is obsessed with this one guy.
No, I don't think I've seen it.
And it's Robert De Niro. It's older one, it's the 80s. But anyway, the point is he's got like a talk show set in his house. And what he does when he comes home is he just pretends to like interview cardboard cutouts. He doesn't record it, but it's just like him imagining that he's in that glitzy, like, hey, how's it going? What's up?
Right.
So yeah, so when that movie came out, it was ridiculous to imagine yourself as some sort of entertainment personality. Well, I mean, you could argue maybe it's up to the audience to decide if this is entertainment.
Yeah, no,
right? This might be
right.
The value of what is happening between you and I in this moment is that we're getting practice.
Yes.
Like, this is a chance to like kind of work out in the content gym or the creativity gym.
That's what I look at it mostly, just letting out creative energies and juices and ideas. I don't really, again, try to keep it as broad and general for my sake, and like not trying to put a identity on it or like too much association with like, well, it's this is what you're gonna get. Like it's just, no, I.
Oh yeah, like I'm a book deal and like
Yeah,
that's all dead anyway.
No,
but
not at all. It's gonna be just like experimental growth,
Yeah.
sharing,
see where it
laughing, sometimes crying, whatever the occasion calls for it to. And what I'd like to go back is like once I start to incorporate also in addition to the writing and like a little bit of this footage now being interchanged with people and whatnot, it gave me another way to, and I look at it again with the glass half full perspective of checking myself for the sake of making myself better, because I look at, sometimes I'll go back and review things because there's aspects of it legit like out of like I know I share a lot of this, that, and the other, but my and I know a lot of it isn't even funny, but like my main goal is to like hopefully, I don't know, like try to get better at making jokes for myself, like just making jokes, whatever it is.
Fair enough. Yeah.
And if I know I have to put in, like sometimes I'll write something that I know is actually like I mean it in my head to be funny.
Yeah.
So when I'm reviewing that later on, if it's not funny, I'll be like, fuck man, I need to work on that. So like that's the part that's the part that I mostly concentrate on. The rest of it is just like extra maybe baggage or this, that, I just need to unload it here, there. If it helps somebody out there, beautiful. If it doesn't, definitely help this guy. So it's just like, first and foremost, like I've said many times, I'm doing it for me. You know what I mean? If it helps any other people, that's also the goal as well. Sweet, but like it's a dance. We're all reliant on each other, and hopefully it adds value so that I could one day, you know, be able to support myself out of this somehow. And again, I'm still figuring things out. I don't have the baby steps. I don't know.
The more you do, the more you'll find. Well, you'll find your path.
Right.
Like all of us, right? So, I was reminded of something when you were talking, and now I kind of forgot. But it was, I think it takes a degree of courage.
Oh, thank you, man. I mean, like that. I see that within you. I see that within you with the work that you do. You put out so much. Like I see your artwork and like the stuff that you put out that is really thought provoking. And like anything people do, I think that's like, to me, art is anything that makes people talk, that makes people question things, that makes people sometimes question the norms and what have you. Even though sometimes I'm a fan of things being normal, dude.
Sure, yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not saying let's live in a freak show.
Yeah.
But
Just
it's always just good to question that. And I think anything that gets you questioning things could be art and beautiful. And I think again, like you said, it doesn't necessarily have to be for the entire world, but within your little cluster, if you're making a little bit of difference here and there with you do it, I do a little bit. You guys out there do your own little things, and together, like there are people right now that I genuinely like. You know, all across the globe, there's this like guy that I follow and like legit love his like martial arts stuff that he does. You know who you are, dude. Shout out.
Nice.
So this is the thing, like he's introduced his world through that, and I'm like, cool man, I can like learn a couple of whatever, or just get motivated, and it's just inspiring to see different people doing whatever they're comfortable with. So I'm like, man, cool beansies.
Yeah.
And
that's really cool.
it's like this is happening, and I think I'm late to the game. You know what I mean? Because I've taken my time so long to like get onto like again being comfortable enough to share stuff online and in this format. So whoever's doing whatever, I think like be comfortable with it, do it, have confidence, and everything will just like work out fine as long as again like I think for the most part if you put your intentions towards positivity and like goodness, I think the outcome will be positive and good. If you are going in it for selfish reasons or I don't know, if you're ill-willed or for some reason you want to be doing negative stuff, and I don't know why some people are drawn to that stuff, but lots of reasons, but there's alternatives, and like the whole like you don't need to go down these like weird paths of. And I joke around sometimes with you guys, like you'll hear in my like terminologies, I'll be like bad boy, bad gal, this, that, and the other. But like really, like in essence, I want everybody to be like helping themselves to be on the good path and on the right path. And like that doesn't mean you can't experiment with a lot of stuff. That doesn't mean you can't have fun. That doesn't mean that you can't be a little bit of a risk taker, a little bit of an adventurous person or whatever. But like within limit, you don't need to go down you don't need to sell your soul, essentially, is what I'm saying, if that makes sense. You don't need to degrade yourself to
Yeah.
doing certain things that you're absolutely not comfortable with. Those are
Yeah.
I think those are really important, and the messages that we also need to be telling. I tell myself that to make sure that I again check myself, because I don't know.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
And people
Who
need
does?
to be, like especially the I feel like there's so much pressure on youth.
Mm.
Well, and we're like, again, we're old, but like we're not that much older, so that like at the point of reference is not lost on me, because it's not that much of a time difference between the times, like maybe 15 or 16, 17. You know what I mean? So it's just like, I definitely feel like there's still a lot of pressure on young girls, young guys to be acting or behaving in certain ways, or like
Yeah.
giving into certain things
Yeah.
way too early, thinking that this is the cool way to do it, or this is my, I'm gonna get rich doing this thing, or I'm gonna find fame, or I'm gonna just do this, that, and the other, and like, just, you could have a lot of fun, and you don't have to go down this, because the images that we've seen, and I don't even want to name the celebs, because at the time, like, I grew up on them too, like, I don't know, because to me, I was looking at them through that, like, lens of a 15, 17-year-old as well, but now as an adult, you're like, man, look at the things that they've been through. Again, not to get too, I don't want to get on that, I don't want to touch on those aspects today, but what I was just trying to, I lost the train of my thought, dude.
No, I hear you. Like, as a younger person, being like glamored by someone to look up to, and then like, whether on purpose or accidentally, kind of copying
Yeah,
what you see and the goals that you see. So yeah, it's good to reevaluate those, because
Yeah.
like they're not naturally built in.
No, and
So.
I just, sorry to interrupt you
No,
guys. The
please.
thing that I wanted to, I just got it back. The thing that I wanted to say is that sometimes these people that you look up to or like grow up with, sometimes you might see them themselves going through life paths, and like, again, not to put any names out there or anything, but going through the battle between the good and the evil, and eventually like giving into the bad side, because like now is that, the money and the attention and this, that, so you can still get attention. We can all get attention. There's good attention, bad attention. It's like, man, sometimes, you look at those things at a young age, and you're like, man, well, they're riding on boats and yachts and this, that, and the other. You think that they've got it going on, but behind the scenes, man, most of these people, and I hope that they're happy and balanced and all that stuff, but again, more money, more problems, right? And how you get those money,
Yeah.
how you get access to that money, definitely.
And the people that it attracts, and there's
a
whole
lot of
web.
claws,
Yeah.
both figuratively and like,
Yeah. Like clause
and like
clauses
clause,
and
yeah,
legal,
clause.
yeah.
So it's not just
Totally.
like, dude, one thing that I I don't even know why I want to talk about this, but what's recently, man, I don't know how to make sense of this, like, and again, I love people, I love creating, I love art, I love all expression, but like, I'm having a difficult time making sense of this BTS thing, dude.
Is that
The,
the K-pop?
Yeah.
What are they up to?
I don't know, but the images that I just find it very, man, it's so hard. Like, dude, again, no disrespect to nobody, but it's just like, what are you? It's so hard to, like, I can't.
I got some theories. I don't know. What is a boy band ever, right? It's a way of getting attention, often young, feminine attention.
Right.
Like the Beatles already came up in the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or like pick another group from then until now. There are a lot of examples, and it's a way of kind of shifting attention and controlling focus, and also making money. Like, so I don't know if you know, like, they sell dolls and stuff. I was in Toys R Us a couple years ago.
I don't know too much
BTS
about
dolls
them.
for sale.
I've heard their fan base is called the Army, which
Sure, that's cool. Of course. Well, it kind of like
Yvonne Etniage. That's the only thing I get reminded of.
Pretty much. Well, this stuff kind of is.
I mean,
a psyop, right? It's kind of a
that's what I'm
brainwashing
saying. Like, you get
operation.
these like guys who barely look like guys, and I'm just like, well,
But that's
whatever,
part of
but
why they're so sellable, because you can sell them to young women, to gay men. Like, it's a broader market.
That's what I'm saying. But it's so created, like it's so, and
I don't
everything's
know.
created. But to me, it just seems so like why are we so focused on, like? Sometimes I see a lot of this, and I think maybe for a good part, maybe for a little tiny part, maybe I even fell into this little trap. Why do we always want, like, de-emphasize the masculine energy and, like, get rid of, like, sometimes I find it, I don't know, why do we have to, like, and even like not to even go down the rabbit hole of like and like them being related to or whatever, like it's used, a lot of these things in the media are used for like manipulation and like mind control, and like it's just why it's just good to I know, I mean, that's all I'm asking is like, why do we, if you want to sing, why do you have to look so feminine when you're a dude? That's all I'm asking.
Well,
and if there's like a couple of you guys like it, but like all 7 of you guys, like
yeah, no, I hear that. I hear that for sure. And I guess like,
but that's their shtick. That's their thing, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, and how do you define masculine, right?
Well, how do you define masculine? That's a whole other thing. Is that?
That's like, is it purely from like a biological genetic standpoint,
right.
a testosterone standpoint? Is that masculinity? That's a whole.
That is a whole.
I don't have the answers to that.
I don't either. I'm just asking questions. It's just funny to me sometimes because like I look at these guys and I know younger folks look up to these guys probably because they're, you know, attention grabbing is what it is. And
well, and yeah, but maybe like, I don't know if when you were younger, did you ever like feel resistant to the latest band, like Backstreet Boys, I don't want that, you know what I mean? Like so I think even though we see their name in like, oh, they're on Twitter, oh, it's in the newspaper, like I don't know how much
actually
support there is.
I'm
sure they have fans.
No,
don't get me wrong, but
I'm 100% in agreement with you though. That's right. A lot of it I do think is, that's what I'm saying. A lot of it I think, even with the fandom or fan base, a lot of it is created.
Yeah,
it's not even out there for realsies. Like I know genuine, maybe absolutely they've got fans, but a lot of this stuff is just the production. A lot of it is just the whole thing of it. Like
makes sense, right? Like
absolutely.
South Korea is like definitely Americanized for a long time.
Yes.
Like that's since the Korean War, it's kind of been like a spot for an American model to be like not reproduced, but like certainly Koreanified, and they do it their own way. Like it's no accident that so many cartoons are made in Korea. A, it's cheaper, but like B, there's just like they have their own media world. That K-pop is supported by such a finely tuned media machine. Like not only are these guys, like the performers, working out and practicing their dance moves and stuff, but there are a lot of people behind the scenes like holding cameras and editing stuff and like making graphics, and like it's a lot of jobs, a lot of skill.
You could say there's a whole army behind it.
Well, yeah, no, and like and totally. That,
yeah.
So, and like even calling it an army, like from a branding standpoint, whoever's running their fan club, whoever's driving that train, like
yeah, they know what they're doing.
Yeah,
they know what's up. And I feel bad for these boys, dude. I feel like they're just like, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they're like living the bestest lives, man. Who am I to know? I don't know, but it seems like they're just being.
No one is.
No
like
one is.
We're all human. We all have crap to deal with.
True, and that's the thing. So. It's just like that's where I find it. Like I feel like they're being like pulled to so many different ways for you. Like yeah,
it's just the latest thing. Like they're the latest god-like figure to be held up, right? Like look at this, they're very flawless almost. Like,
that's the problem. That I'm not even like going back, even I don't even have a like problem with like, man, I fuck with like makeup when I was like 19. I fucking wore eyeliner for like 6 months, being my goth stage or what have you. But point that I'm trying to make is that why is that such a huge emphasis of like, again, you said that they're so constructed to the point that they look almost flawless. I don't even have a problem with them even looking like feminized or anything. It's the flawlessness, the Photoshop, the makeup, everything looks so.
But that's part of the marketing. Is like you sell, like I can't speak for the whole demographic, but I remember like I've got some young siblings, and one of them was super into K-pop when she was like a tween, and like it kind of took that energy of like, oh, boys are cool.
Right.
And like captured it, and I remember she had a Pinterest of like literally like thousands of pins of K-pop pictures.
Man.
Because like, you know, you're 12, you've got time to kill.
Absolutely.
You like looking at these K-pop pictures. So I think we've got to remember that a lot of the heat around these groups is generated from young people who are being trained again to see what the world is.
Right.
And that's also a way like to make them feel insecure, because like, oh, your skin isn't as good as his skin.
Yeah.
Or like to sell them plastic surgery or
That's-
to sell them beauty products? Like
That's what I'm saying,
why
dude.
do you
That's
think-
what I'm saying,
Yeah,
dude, you know?
like YouTube. So not all of them, but there are many big channels dedicated to beauty, to makeup, to
It's
putting on
so
your.
profitable, dude. Always be fixing yourself, like, as if you're this thing to be fixed up, like make up and like
Yeah, well, but we're speaking paradoxically because earlier we're talking about like always wanting to improve,
Right.
question.
But it's like,
which I'm
again-
with. But cover up is where I don't like.
Yeah, no,
Where,
I'm,
like,
I'm
you're
all for change and
hiding
growth and bettering, but
flaws.
it's like, again, positive things that you could actually use in real life and that are practical to your well-being, that are not based on just like superficial, just like, because like looks to me is so lame. Like if you want to like tell people to just like take care of the outside and everything inside's gonna be good, no man, if you're pumping iron every day, if you're putting on makeup but you're not, you know, healing yourself from the inside, if you're hurting inside, you're still gonna be upset, you're still gonna be having issues. And like that's the problem that I think, it's just they're portraying this mass image of these, again, flawless young men who are gonna be appealing to a grand scale potentially.
Yeah,
of, you
and,
know,
and multi-country too.
and,
Like
yeah.
you can sell them in China or in
anywhere,
Taiwan
anywhere.
or whatever.
They're becoming one of those, like, again, they've marketed them as one of these like multinational products.
that
You know?
yeah, pretty
Everybody
much.
can buy into it. They're happy. They're
Pretty much.
nice. They're clean.
The
they'll
songs
sing.
are
The songs are
catchy.
catchy.
There's a rapper.
Is
Ooh.
there?
Yeah, that typically not to betray too much knowledge of the K-pop scene, but my understanding
Sorry, guys.
is that most groups have a rapper within them to spit bars.
Gotcha. Like the bad, like the bad boy of the group.
Yeah, exactly. Like he's got the leather jacket. He's like, oh, like whatever they say.
I'm sorry.
So,
Oh man.
yeah.
That just made me laugh. Couldn't keep it in.
And there
It's,
are lady groups too, right? It's
yeah,
not just dudes.
absolutely.
And it's the same template of like, okay, here's like a perfect being that you want to be like, but you can't be like, and because of that disconnect, now we can sell you stuff.
Yes.
Maybe.
Yes. Absolutely.
Not
because
to be too simplified.
No,
like,
no,
not to
but absolutely.
oversimplify
But
it,
if you buy this jacket, if you buy that
Yeah,
makeup, if
then
you buy
you're
this, then you
cool.
could be like them a little bit.
yeah, it'll rub off on you. You'll get that whatever they've got.
Oh man, I hit a good spot.
Yeah, man, it's a thing, and isn't that cultural appropriation? Like, I'm sorry, but like, how do we figure that one out? Like,
Oh man, good times, good
Yeah.
times.
Yeah.
Yeah, much love to everybody doing like all positive things. Again,
Yeah.
I hope for the most part like you guys are enjoying it out there. Whoever watches it, whoever creates whatever, it's all a collaborative effort. It's just sometimes like, again, like question whatever you're doing, and if you're 100% into it, choo, go for it.
Yeah,
you know what I
totally.
mean? Like,
just as long as, like, I hope that we can keep sustainability in mind,
Right.
like, not make short-sighted decisions
Right.
for short-term pleasure.
yeah, that's what I think. It doesn't give you any, like, it doesn't add some things, even though they might be cool for the moment, they don't add any value to our lives. And
Yeah, like me
This is like-
eating the whole pizza and having a time, like, you know, like,
fair enough, and we
Not
all
to-
do it. We all do things.
Totally,
Not to, yeah.
totally, yeah.
Like, again, I'm not even like, it's just the funny. I'm 31 years old, dude. It looks funny to me watching it from the outside.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure it looks super dope for whoever's into it.
okay.
But for me, it's just now I can like
Same.
laugh because I was there too. I would definitely come up with certain celebs or what have you, and be like,
Sure.
"Oh, they're the coolest pieces
Wow.
of like
Yeah,
art
or
that
like-
I've seen, or they're really cool." And it's just like you
Or
grow
have a
up,
crush,
or you,
right?
oh
Like,
my god,
that's the
dude!
thing.
F
for
yeah.
sure. But again, that's the part of the manipulation of the machine. Is
Yeah.
like the whatever the there's no like one media that's like so
Oh, it's so
diverse.
vast.
But if the hand holds up the puppet and it's a hot puppet and it like trains then you got it, right?
You
Because
got
you
it,
can move the
that's it.
puppet over here and it's like
Oh my god, and
I was talking to sorry.
No, we all, I know I did at least fall prey to it, and that's what I'm just saying. It's like I just want, like, you know, anybody who's consuming it, I don't even care about your age, just be a little bit mindful, and it's all cool. If you're like, I consume a lot of stuff that's not necessarily beneficial 100% either,
Sure.
like, you know, whatever, like I talk about, like, I love rap music, and sometimes the things that they talk about is not the most, you know, up and up with society and what we should be holding up as good norms, but
Sure. I'm
but
with you.
sometimes whatever. It is what it is. I'm just that's the thing that I'm saying. I'm like, consume with your own discretion. Your own. You should use a good discretion on like whatever you consume, so that it doesn't. And I had to tell this to my you consume whatever, then for a period of time you might start to mimic it or become it, and you don't want to be, or at least I don't want to be necessarily some of the things that I consume. So it's just like consume it responsibly if that can be done.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Well, I'm with you. I think to a degree we're all impressionable, and the stuff that we see, whether it's like stuff like this that's so the battery died, but I was saying something about like whether you're looking at something in front of you or you're looking at something like a representation of something in front of you, right? Like, because when you watch the show, it's a picture of us in this room. It's not actually. Sorry, the battery keeps dying. I don't know what I was saying. A bunch of stuff, but the point is, I don't know. Making stuff is good.
Yeah.
Choosing where you put your focus is good.
Just doing a little bit of due diligence, right?
Yeah.
Into whatever you're making, consuming,
and
all that jazz, the good stuff.
Yeah. Being aware is one thing, but actually like making that change is another thing.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Just little by little, step by step. Boys and girls, ladies and gents, we're running low on batteries, but it's all right. This was wonderful. Thank you.
Nice. We had some battery camera things. We were saying some stuff. Like the flow kind of got interrupted. But yeah, I don't know.
Technical difficulties, man. It is what it is. But boys and girls, ladies and gents, thank you for coming and checking out this show. Much love and support for everybody out there doing whatever it is, kicking butt, taking names. We'll be back here again on Friday and Saturday for the Patreon episode, and we'll see you guys back here on Monday next week. Thank you guys, and thank you, brother.
Yeah, dude. Happy to be here.
Peace out, everybody.